Alright, what is going on, guys? JNC Radio here with our JNC Rewind. We have not done one of these in a while. It's been about almost a couple months now, actually. But we're finally back with it.
Starting off with the bad stuff.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I'm getting from this, because, I mean, let's just look at the few shows we've done thus far. We've done Great American Bash Show 4, not the greatest show in the world, pretty terrible, being completely honest.
Yeah.
And we did the Royal Rumble of '07, which was a good show. Then we also did Armageddon of '08, which was not the greatest show either. Pretty average show, but it was just because of the
Jeff
overall
Hardy.
moment at the end, which really made everything.
Yeah.
But here we are with another not so great show. Yeah, I guess we're just getting the bad ones out of the way. I mean, not to jump to everything right away, but I'm pretty sure everyone who's going to be listening to this is going to be thinking the same thing. Like, why did we pick this show?
Well, I did. The only reason why I picked the show is because, well, it is the month of December, and obviously there was a pay-per-view called December To Dismember.
Yeah, we're 13 years removed from it now.
I don't know. Can't believe it's already been that long.
Yeah, pretty soon it's gonna be 2020 is gonna be in a matter of weeks, but yeah, but right now still, yeah, that recently was just like about a week or so ago. I think it marked exactly 13 years from the date that this pay-per-view took place. Yeah, this is back in '06 when the WWE tried doing their own version of ECW, their reboot. I guess WWE ECW is what a lot of people refer to it as.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is during that time period. They just got done doing the second One Night Stand in '06, and then they started on Sci-Fi on Tuesday nights at 10 o'clock time slot. Uh, Rob Van Dam started out as their world champ, and then
I see that didn't go long.
it didn't go long. Then eventually they put the. Well, here's the other thing. Let's just give a brief little intro to all this. Yeah, so this is the reboot of ECW. They had brought in a lot of guys from who've been on Raw and SmackDown for years, such as The Big Show, Hardcore Holly, Test, and basically then they'd bring in people like CM Punk and like Elijah Burke and some of the newcomers like from like OVW at the time, and they'd mix that in with like some of the original guys from the original version of ECW. So it was basically just a mix of that, but of course they put their own little spin on it and watered it down. Um, yeah, it was just, yeah,
It was
especially the first couple years of it. It was not ideal. It was pretty bad product.
it was half-assed of what it used to be.
Yeah, that exactly. That's a perfect way of putting it. Later on though, I just felt from like maybe from late '07, definitely '08 and '09. I tend to have an interesting opinion on it, and I've seen a couple other people share the same opinion. I thought in '08, '09 it was actually pretty solid, and I actually enjoyed those years of it. But the thing that always hurt it and the things that always killed it was the fact that it had the name ECW and it was supposed to be ECW. Like it was the name of the show, and because it still had that stigma of Extreme Championship Wrestling, which is this is their version of it, and
Yeah.
because that's what they were attempting to do, that's what ruined it, and that's what made it bad.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I mean, '08 and '09, it was like you could actually catch some solid wrestling, and in some ways, it was actually more. At some points, it was actually more consistently booked. More so, probably in '09, it was actually probably more consistently booked than either Raw or SmackDown at times.
Yeah, I could probably agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a 1 hour show, but I mean, if you just look at it for what it was, I mean, if it wasn't called ECW, I think a lot of people, especially later on, would have liked it more up until it went off air in 2010. But yeah, so basically they had brought ECW back in '06, or they tried to and failed miserably. Yeah, as I said, they bring in the originals from the past. They bring in guys who'd been in WWE for some time, mid card level guys, throw them on there. Then they bring in whenever they'd have their call ups, or they had like Punk, they had Elijah Burke and some newcomers. They'd put them on the show as well. So Big Show would win the title from Rob Van Dam, and he'd be champion for months. And then they go through like SummerSlam, and I mean, and they go through all these shows, and you would see the even Survivor Series, and you would see some of the ECW stuff on there, but
Yes.
I just think it was just in a lot of ways doomed from the start. I guess I had heard that one idea that I guess Shane McMahon had when they had thought about doing this, about having it being a WWE.com show, kind of like Heat and Velocity. The only difference is people would actually watch the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess his thinking with that would have been, well, if we have it on WWE.com, instead of like having like on a network, it'd allow us to have like more like freedom and more control. So because it'd be our product that we're
Right.
kind of controlling. Rather, if it was on the network, it'd be maybe more watered down, which I guess as things turned out, that may have been the case. But that was for many different reasons.
Yeah. Well, without further ado, should we start getting into the detail?
Yeah, I just want to give a little, like, a little backstory.
Yeah.
And maybe that's probably what we should probably do for all these JNC rewinds. But, so the show would start out with the video package, which would basically just, basically was for the Extreme Elimination Chamber. And then,
Which obviously was the main focus throughout the whole show, because that was the big show, big part.
And you'd have the pyro and the intro and the opening, and of course a couple things to note is this show would take place from the James Brown Arena in Augusta, Georgia. Very interesting choice of venue for sure for an ECW pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if this was exactly the right place to do it, but this event would draw a crowd of 4,800, very low attendance for the show. I believe I read that the attendance or the capacity for this arena is like somewhere like a little over like 9,000, I believe. I don't know if that's for if that'd be like for wrestling events or whatever, but it did appear that I saw in photos like in other places, it did appear this building was like half filled, so you couldn't really see it as much like when they were showing it, because they, of course, with cameras and production and everything, they kind of cover a lot of that stuff up. But yeah, then I guess Joey Styles would actually no, before I get into that point, there's a couple more things I want to know. The pay-per-view would draw a buy rate of about 90,000 buys, which is the lowest buy rate, 55,000 of those buys being domestic. This would be the lowest buy rate in WWE history until 2014, when the WWE Network was introduced. The show was originally supposed to be held again in 2007, but the show was canned after all the pay-per-views becoming tri-branded. But so yeah, Joey Styles would actually say in the beginning that tonight there would be a new ECW World Champion crowned.
Yeah, which to me it's kind of like, did you just like a low key? Did you just spoil the whole show?
I guess as it turned out, I mean, if I would have heard that going into it, like I probably wouldn't have thought much of it. I mean, I guess as it turned out, I mean that ended up being the case, but I wouldn't have probably thought much of it. I probably would have thought it was just a funny botch, but
Yeah, but
of course, with the fact that
yeah,
I guess that would happen later on in the show.
But before I do get any further, I'm just gonna say, like, in my opinion, like how this show ended up being was basically the start. Like, if it wasn't already going downhill by that point, it was definitely going downhill after this show.
Yeah, I think it was somewhat doomed from the beginning. The second they had that first episode and like they brought up the zombie and did all that garbage. I mean, I think that really that right there was just a horrible first impression. And
First of all, you don't do wrestling shows on Sci-Fi.
yeah, it's not a wrestling network, and I guess the reason why they did that, for example, is because they were poking fun at the fact that they're on the Sci-Fi network or whatever. But yeah, I didn't like that. ECW, yeah, them being on that network wasn't like, it's not a wrestling network. I didn't like SmackDown was on there years later. That wasn't really a good spot, I didn't think, for them either.
Nope.
But
but anyway, we're gonna get to the action after those side comments.
yes, we'll just backstory and just a couple quick things to just know and just point out. first we'd have our opening match here, which would be a tag team match between the Hardy Boys, or Team Extreme as they were introduced, Matt and Jeff Hardy, of course, against Eminem, Mercury and Nitro.
Which this match would last a total of 22 minutes.
Yeah, this was
a long one.
Yeah, it wasn't the longest match of the night. Of course, the Chamber ended up being, but yeah, this was quite a lengthy one. I thought it was a good match. There was a couple
miscues and all that stuff.
Miscues, as some things didn't connect exactly the way they were supposed to, but
I
still thought it was a good match. I just think that the biggest problem with it was just
too long.
It was too long in the length of it. Like, I enjoyed their Rumble match better, actually. I just thought that, like, once again, I thought that was better because they did a lot of the stuff they're doing in this, except it was just, like, way shorter, and it was just in a way better spot. And the only other problem I had with, actually, this has nothing even to do with the match. One of the things that just kind of got me with this is the fact that this was really the best part of the night.
Yeah.
And it featured 4 guys that weren't even on the show to begin with.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Again, like how this was, it was just weird. Like how did a Raw and SmackDown team even get on this pay-per-view in the first place?
Yeah.
Like I get it. By this time, the Hardy Boys were technically wrestling on ECW almost every week from that point,
which is once again weird because Jeff's on Raw, Matt's on SmackDown,
and Jeff Hardy's holding on to that he's Intercontinental Champion at this point.
Oh yeah. I guess it's another thing you could say.
This whole thing, it was just a feud between Jeff Hardy and Johnny Nitro, and somehow one or another, Joey Mercury and Matt Hardy somehow get involved in this. And that's how you get these Hardy Boys and Eminem matchups for the next few months.
Yeah, there'd be there'd be some good double teams, wrestling good tag team wrestling from both sides.
And great one-liners.
Oh yeah, the commentary I didn't through the show wasn't exactly the
Taz in the show killed me all night.
Well, yeah, the commentary of the show wasn't the best, but I do think a lot of it was just they're just trying to make the fun or make the most out of whatever they could, because they did not have a lot to work with.
Yeah,
they basically got 2 matches that were confirmed, and the rest of the stuff basically was just a bunch of crap you'd see like on TV.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not too far off from what they're doing nowadays with how they put the pay-per-views together, but
yeah, it's crap. It's literally shit.
But
anyway.
Well, that and
again, this was a great match. So me and Cam actually decided to actually rate this at least a 3. Like, so shocking, right, guys? Like,
this was the only good match of the night. In my opinion.
Oh yeah,
but the Hardy Boys would pull out the win. Matt would do what Taz described as like a double neck breaker. To me, it was like a double
cutter
slash
like half a twist of fate.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's what he was going for.
Yeah.
But so then he would do that to both Mercury and Nitro, and then he'd put a one on top of the other. Hardy would hit the swanton and we'd get the 1, 2, 3.
They called it the M&M sandwich without the peanut butter.
Yeah, that was.
Thank you, Taz.
That was a terrible line. So yeah, they get the win. That's that. Then we'd have a quick Rob Van Dam interview where he'd talk about how he was gonna win the Chamber. Basically, one of those interviews they always do that are weird, where a guy asks himself questions and he answers them himself. Then next we get Balls Mahoney versus Matt Striker. Yes, this was a pay-per-view match.
Yes. Which is weird because I totally forgot at one point he actually did wrestle, because when I think of Matt Striker, I just think of the commentator.
Yeah, I think of him as a commentator, think of him like as like a manager a little bit, where he managed like Big Daddy V,
yeah,
things like that. But
I totally forget that he actually wrestled at one point.
Yeah, he'd cut a promo prior to the match where he'd basically like he'd allude to the Chamber being on top of the ring, or being above him. But then he'd go on to say that he'd talk about how he's facing Balls Mahoney. Then he'd say that his match would be contested under Extreme rules, except it'd be an Extreme enforcement of rules, and he'd like say